Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the next session in your live stream today on job hunting and working in the UK. I'm Sam, a postgraduate careers advisor, working particularly with business and law students, so I have worked with all undergraduate students from all disciplines in the past. Before I get into our session today, though, I just first of all want to say a massive welcome to each of you. I, for one, have worked with a lot of international students in my past, both in this job and in other jobs. I'm consistently inspired by the drive, dedication, resilience, and global mindedness that each of them brings, both to their studies, but also their wider extracurricular activities and their work. And I know that for all of you, today is focused on jobs in the UK. You have a lot to offer to the UK labour market. Now, before we actually get into the meat of the presentation, I mentioned I'm a careers advisor, but you might be wondering what that means and what actually qualifies me to chat about working and looking for jobs in the UK today. So just as I said, to introduce myself, I'm Sam, a careers advisor. What this means is a number of things, but fundamentally, what I'm here to do is to support you as students with things like your applications for jobs, your interviews, and any wider career plans you have. If it's around your career, around job hunting, me and the wider team that I represent are here to help. Alongside that, I also complete research about what's happening in the graduate labour market and also work with employers looking to employ students and graduates to ensure what I'm talking about to you, as I'm going to talk about today, is actually what's happening in the wider labour market and the real world as it is such a thing. Now, me and the team, it's not just me and our team. We have about 60 staff, actually. And I'll talk about a bit about what we offer later on in our live stream today. But just so you're aware, as well as all the things I'm going to talk about today, we also offer weekly appointments one-to-one. So if after the chat today you think, actually, I could really do with a one-to-one chat with an advisor just to talk more about all of this, then we'd be happy to see you. So today, we're going to cover a few different things. First of all, we're going to look at job hunting in the UK, looking at what types of jobs are out there, where you can actually find them, and when you should start looking and when you should start applying. With applications in mind, we're going to talk a bit about what UK employers are actually looking for. We're not going to go into loads of detail about this because it's a big topic, but what we're going to talk about here is some of the key things, as well as fundamentally how we can also help you with that. And I would like to say, because there's quite a lot of information that I've packed into the presentation today, at the end of it, you might be feeling a little bit daunted. Don't worry, that's completely normal. What I really want to reassure you with throughout today is that we are here to help you however we can. You've heard a little bit about me. While I carry on with the presentation, what you should see is my head floating with the slides here, and beneath that, the opportunity to put in some comments if you should so wish. And what I'd love to hear from you as we go along is just who you are. And what I'd like you to do is to introduce yourself in the chat and tell me two key things. First of all, where you're from, your home country is something I'm always interested in seeing. I'm always fascinated with the diversity of our students at DMU. And second of all, the type of job you're most interested in. That might be that you're most interested in getting a job alongside your studies to pay for some work. It might be that you're most interested in an internship or a graduate job. That will just help me understand what you're really focused on, both for today, but also for how we support you over the next year. So it would be lovely to hear from you if you can, but I'm going to carry on the presentation just to give you a bit more content. Now, first of all, of course, the question that we need to approach before anything when we consider the UK labour market and getting a job in the UK is what types of job are actually out there. And we can break this down into a number of different areas. First of all, we've got part-time work. Now, when I say part-time work, what I mean is work that happens alongside your studies. So, for example, this might be bar work, it might be working in a restaurant or something like that, anything really that you're doing alongside your studies just to pay the bills. And I can see a few people are saying, chatting in. We've got Lamy and Jad here. Great to have you here with us all. And great to see you. So it looks like both of you are from business backgrounds. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we've also got some more workshops happening over the semester, which I'll chat about with you in just a moment. So in terms of part-time work then, first of all, I'd just like to pose you this question, which is, How many hours do you think you can work a week alongside your studies? How many hours can you work a week alongside your studies? Have a guess. There is a right answer, but there's not going to be any punishment or anything if you get it wrong. What I'd like you to do is have a guess at that and post your answer in the Teams chat. And I'll give you just a few moments for that before I give you the answer. It's important to be aware of this. Now, this when I say how many hours can you work a week, this is both considering your DMU requirements as a student, but also your visa requirements under your student visa. So we've got a few bids coming in. We've got Jad with 20 hours, Denande with 20 hours, Chill with 20, Lamy with 20 hours, and then Miguel's going for 10 to 12. So it looks like most people are going for 20 hours overall. And Ahmad, great to have you here from Kurdistan as well. Never worked with anyone from Kurdistan, so it'd be great to work with you. So, drum roll please, the answer is actually 16 hours. So it's worth bearing this in mind. When we say 20 hours is what would be listed on your student route visa, but as a De Montfort University student, generally what we'd ask you to do is work no more than 16 hours alongside your studies. This is good to know for when you're considering what you can balance alongside your studies to make sure you don't take on too much. However, as well as that, it's also important to realize that in your student route visa, if it covers you for a period where you are not studying and the university is on holiday, you can work full time. So, for example, I know we've got a mix of people here, both from undergraduate and postgraduate backgrounds. For those of you that are from undergraduate backgrounds, if you've got a student route visa that covers you over your summer in the UK, you can work full time during that summer. For those of you on master's courses, the majority of you will be completing your dissertation or your final project over that summer period. So you won't be able to work full time because you will still be studying. So for you, it's still only, I'm afraid, 16 hours as a maximum you can work. Now, of course, that's good to know as a foundation for how many hours to work, but it's no use knowing how many hours you can work if you don't have a job to actually work at. And so I just want to take a moment to talk about where you can actually look for paid part-time work roles. Now, the number one thing I want to talk about is Unitemps, which is our on-campus jobs agency. What this means is basically, as a jobs agency, Unitemps is run by the university for university students like yourselves. So what they do is they have a bunch of jobs that they list, which I'll talk about in just a moment and link to for you to have a look at yourself. But what they do is when they're sourcing these jobs is because they have students in mind, they ensure, first of all, they are well paid. And second of all, they are suitable for you as a student. So a lot of the roles here will have, for example, flexibility alongside your studies. They might have flexible contracts or just overall fit in with the weekday work that you'll be doing each semester. Now, other sites are not just Unitemps, and I will talk about Unitemps and some roles just to give you an idea of what's available in the UK right now. There are a number of other sites out there, and I'll see if we can share these slides with you so you don't have to write all of this down, and there will be recordings as well. But some other sites we recommend as a service include Employment for Students. Save the Student, you can look there for part-time jobs. And it's worth noting that even just doing a quick Google of UK part-time jobs in Leicester will bring up a number of results already. You might have heard in the news, but there's quite a number of shortages at the moment around part-time work. So there's quite a few part-time jobs going right now. So now is a great time to start looking. And to give you an idea of some of the things out there, these three jobs I've literally picked today from the Unitemps website. They are all live to apply for right now if you are interested, but they just give you an idea of some of the things you can get involved with. For example, you can see there's a bar staff there, so working in a bar. There's also interpreters. One thing that I really encourage you to do if you are interested in building your cultural skills, your language skills, and getting involved with the university in a wider capacity is looking at the student ambassador roles and brand ambassador roles that are available. What this means as a student ambassador or brand ambassador, they often have quite flexible hours and flexible contracts, but what it ultimately means is that you are there to support the university and represent the university in a variety of different ways. This can be by chatting with prospective students and current students. It can be by talking at events. It can be by helping out at events. There's a number of ways you can get involved. But the reason I highlight this is, first of all, as I said, it's live right now. it is paid. And I've worked with quite a few international students who have taken on these roles in the past who've really enjoyed them, not only because they're good money and they're good experience, but also because they've really helped them to get used to and exposed to the UK culture, a chance to develop their language skills and overall just meet some friends as well. Now, thank you, yes, and thank you so much, everybody, for sharing where you're from. You can see you've got a range of different things here from a range of different countries. We've got everything from being a photojournalist, I can see as an ethical hacker as well, and then also it looks like we've got the business and law faculty as well as pharmacy. So it's fantastic to have such a range here. As I said, I will talk more about the support we offer at the end of the presentation, but it's worth just noting for each of you that you do have a specialist careers team in each faculty to help you direct with what you're looking for. So if it's pharmacy or if it's ethical hacking or if it's working in finance, we have supporters here and advisors here to help you with that. So back to part-time work. And I just wanted to finish before talking about more graduate level work with this question, which is part-time work worth it? Now, I wanted to raise this just because it's something that I've seen from a few students who've come to see me in my appointments. Because obviously part-time is worth it in terms of the money that you get for it. But often I've had students come to me say, I've got quite a lot on in my studies. I've got this job offer or this volunteering offer. I'm not sure if it's actually worth it for my future graduate career, as well as just making money. And it is worth noting that whether it's part-time work, whether it's volunteering, whether it's just general extracurricular experience, all of this is actually going to be useful for you for your graduate career. And that is because of a few key reasons. First of all, it helps you develop your cultural skills, your language skills. But second of all, most UK graduate employers don't expect to see loads and loads of relevant experience for that sector. So just to take, for example, Shahabanu's point about interest in working in finance and administration, and not necessarily looking for you to have loads of explicit financial work experience. What they are looking for is evidence of your wider skills and your wider attitudes. So actually, when you're thinking about that, work that you do part-time, say as a student ambassador, can actually be really relevant and really useful for those roles. So I just want to make that point that actually part-time work and volunteering, extracurricular work, all of those things aren't just worth it for the money, it is worth it for the experience as well, even if on the surface it doesn't seem directly related to graduate careers. And with that in mind, though, I also wanted to talk for the next 10 minutes or so about more graduate level careers. So the difference here between this and what we term as part-time work is when we're talking about graduate level work, it might be more related to something that you want to do after university. If, for example, the difference between just a job that you're using to pay the bills and work that you actually want to make a longer term career out of and perhaps get into a job straight after university or a few years after university. And when we're looking at the UK labour market, there's a few key terms to be aware of around this. So when you're searching for jobs, when you're looking for what's out there, you might see a few different terms that seem unfamiliar to you, which I'm just going to explain here. The first of all, when we're thinking about jobs after you graduate, is something called a graduate scheme. Now, graduate schemes are jobs. They're more common in larger companies, actually for international students like yourself requiring sponsorship, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment. They're quite common to go into compared to smaller direct entry graduate jobs. And generally what a graduate scheme is it is a job. Alongside that, it's also a training program as well. They generally last for 1 to 3 years for you after you've graduated. And what you'll do as part of that is often you'll work on the job. You can complete some training. Sometimes you'll work in different placements in different parts of the business, with the aim of that graduate scheme as a whole being that once that scheme is finished, you will be a long-term employee, usually of that business. So when you're looking at that, you might see something called graduate schemes. This is what they're called. Alongside that, there are also just direct entry graduate roles. What we mean by direct entry graduate roles are just that they are classic jobs, the same way as part-time work, but at a graduate level that you would apply for like any other job. So these are generally more common for smaller employers to have, but big employers will have them as well. But it's just worth bearing in mind that you might see graduate roles or direct entry graduate roles highlighted. This is what that means. Finally, we also have internships and placements. Now, internships and placements are designed both for you to have during your studies, but you can actually do a lot of internships and placements after your studies as well. Usually what these are is they're a bit more short term, usually a month to a year. And what they're designed is to give you a bit of exposure at entry level to a sector. Now I'm going to talk, they've got their own slide in just a moment, but I also wanted just to highlight the visa situation with you all as international graduates. So here what we're thinking about isn't during your studies, because during your studies you can work for 16 hours alongside your studies, as I've said. This is for once you graduate. If you are interested in staying and working in the UK, these are the options available for you. And before I go into these, it's also worth highlighting that beyond this presentation, there's so much we could talk about that we're not going to have time for today. We have got specialist international student careers talks throughout the semester, and one of them is all about visas, so we can go into much more detail there. So if you've, after this slide, you're thinking, Sam, I've got quite a few more questions about this, I'm going to highlight the workshops at the end of this session. And if you come along to that, that should be a place where you get all your questions answered. So with the graduate route visa options, first of all is the graduate route visa. So what this is, I imagine some of you might have heard of it already, but basically what this visa is there's no need for you to get sponsored on this visa. It's once you graduate from your course and you've completed your course successfully, you can apply for this visa to get 2 years after graduation to work and live in the UK. Now, if there's any of you watching who are doing a PhD with us, first of all, fantastic to have you here. Worth noting that for you, the graduate route visa will give you 3 years rather than 2 years after graduation to work and live in the UK. What that means by work and live in the UK is that you can do pretty much anything as long as it's paid the legal minimum wage. So it can be graduate level work, it can be part-time work, like we've discussed already. It can be starting your own business. It's quite flexible in terms of what you can do. However, once those 2 years is up, or perhaps before then, if you get the offer of sponsorship, there's other visa options available, the most common of which will be something called the skilled worker visa. So what this means as a skilled worker visa is that a company in the UK that has a sponsorship license must sponsor you on this visa. So you must have a job offer and an employer willing to sponsor you on this visa to get this visa. But once you do, they'll enable you to stay in the UK for quite a long time, quite a few years, and it can count towards long-term settlement if you're interested in actually living in the UK more long-term as well. The thing to note with the skilled worker visa is, as I mentioned, that you need to have a company and a job offer for it to happen. The company must be willing to sponsor you, but also there needs to be a minimum salary for that job offer to be applicable. So on the graduate route visa, this was, you could work at any salary as long as it was living wage. On the skilled worker visa, the minimum salary you'll need to meet is £20,000, £20,450 per year. Sorry, it doesn't say that in the slides, but that's per year. Now, most graduate schemes that I've talked about already will fit into that, so that should be okay. But it's just worth bearing in mind that some of those lower level works or some of those lower paid works won't fit into the long-term sponsorship. I appreciate, as I said at the start, that I'm throwing quite a lot of information at you, but there will be a chance beyond today for lots of questions and further support. Now, we mentioned graduate schemes, we mentioned direct entry graduate roles. I also wanted to take a moment just to talk about internships and placements. Now, as I said, internships are usually short-term work experiences where you gain exposure to a company, to a business, to a sector. The part-time visa rules still apply for these if you're taking these internships alongside your studies. So during term time, when you're studying, you can only work up to 16 hours on these internships. However, most internships out there usually happen either over Easter or most commonly over the summer period. So particularly for those of you who have got a holiday over the summer period, so aren't studying, you can take advantage of these full-term internships. Now, in terms of placements, this is quite an interesting one. So I'll just take a moment on this, but they've got a full team dedicated to this. Monica, I'll just come to your question in a moment. I'll just finish this and I'll come to your question. In terms of placements, when you're looking for roles, you might see some things called a placement. Generally for placements, what that means is that it's a sandwich placement that you do as part of your course. Now, this is, I think it's only for a lot of students are undergraduate, it's open to quite a lot of different courses. At postgraduate, it's only open to certain courses in health and life sciences and computing, engineering, and media. If you can do a sandwich placement during the course, you should have the option to have with a year in industry in your course title. So I just bear this in mind. I'm not going to talk too much about placements today, because for all of you who are searching for placements, who have that as part of your course, you'll have a specialist placements team in your faculty that will be reaching out to you, get in touch, and they'll have loads of support available for you there. So I'm not going to talk too much about placements because that's something that they'll pick up, but that's just worth noting because placements can be different to internships. A placement is something you complete during your course. It should be part of your course. It is assessed. Internship is something that you will complete outside of your course. Now, Monica, with your question, and Monica's just asked a question going back about part-time work. Monica, this is a good question. May I know if employers give any training for part-time jobs? Some will, some won't. So it depends on the level of training. So usually they will give you some training, introducing you to how the company works, what the job's expected to do, and things like that. It will, however, depend on the level of training you need. So, for example, if you're someone you're applying for a bar role, you've never worked in a bar before, and you're looking for training not only around bar work, but also training around your English and things like that, they won't offer that level, but usually they will offer training around that. However, Monica, what I'd say is have a look out there, come and have a chat with us as a career service, and we can work more on that one-to-one. And Pink, great to see you from Thailand as well. Loving fashion photography. Fantastic to have you here. You have an arts design humanities careers team who will also be happy to help you with that. So another question just to get the cogs whirring, which is this. Now, I've talked about graduate jobs, graduate internships, placements here. Got a quick question for you, which is when should you start searching for graduate jobs, do you think? Have a think and post your answer in the StreamYard chat. While we're waiting for people to answer that, now I've seen Amraf has put a question about receiving, want to know if you can apply for part-time jobs before receiving the national insurance number. Now, Amraf, I think you won't be able to work the part-time job before you receive the national insurance number, but that's not to stop you applying for it. So if you're going to get the number in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you can apply for the role. Often it will take a week or two at least for you to go through interview. Often it can take longer than that. So you'll have at least a few weeks from application to actually be offered the job anyway. So I'd say you can apply now, certainly, while you're waiting for your national insurance number. Ahmad, Jad, and Alex, thank you for getting involved here. So Ahmad's gone before your dissertation, Jad's saying before graduation, and Alex has gone for 1 year before finishing your course. Out of all of you, I might say Pink's gone for the 3rd year of undergraduate year as well. So with those, it's a good question. I'd say perhaps out of all of you, Alex and Pink are the closest, though. Still could be, it's a bit of a nuance, so it's a hard question to answer. But just to start answering that question for yourself, what I'll do is give you an idea of the graduate jobs timeline. So what things are going to be advertised when you need to apply, and when things will generally be closing. So you see there's a lot of information on the side, but I just take it through with you bit by bit. We've got semester 1, i.e. the semester we're in now, October to December. So this is usually where many of those large employers will open and close those graduate schemes that I've talked about, as well as they'll start advertising their internship opportunities. Now, with those graduate schemes I talked about, a little bit unusual, particularly for large employers, because how they work is often you'll apply, say, in October. Then you'll go through a sequence of application processes, but you won't actually get a job offer until possibly spring, and won't actually start the role itself until summer or even autumn of the following year. So you might apply in October 2021, for example, if you're graduating in 2022, but you won't actually start that job you applied for in 2021 until 2022 after your studies have finished. These graduate schemes are usually made alongside student course patterns, which is why they're so early and why they fit in with you and when you graduate. So that will be semester 1, i.e. right now, is a key time to start looking for those. If you are a postgraduate or a final year graduate, probably this is the time to start looking at graduate schemes. If you're just interested in internships, perhaps if you're a second year, first year, or just want to get experience, internships can be great to get at any level. But now is also a good time to start hunting for some of those. Though right now might be a little bit early for internship opportunities, probably October, November, some more will start coming up. Then in semester 2, I'll just flip back to the chat. In semester 2, this is when those smaller companies will start advertising graduate schemes, as well as Easter summer internship applications becoming available. So semester 2, again, is a really good time to start looking for some graduate schemes in smaller companies, but also internship opportunities. Before finally we move into Easter and the summer period, this is where those direct entry graduate jobs will start being hired, as well as summer internships. So if you imagine as a plan, you've got semester 1, i.e. right now, definitely I'd encourage you to start looking, start applying for large graduate schemes and internships if you are at that level and feel ready for that. Semester 2, there will still be opportunities, as well as Easter and summer. There are always going to be opportunities advertised throughout the year, but as you can see, depending on the type of role you want, there are peaks and troughs at different times of year for different role types. So David's asking about how to get my national insurance number. David, I'm not sure about that myself because I'm a careers advisor rather than a visa advisor or international support advisor, but the international support team should be able to help you with that question, as well as getting your ERP moniker as well. So as I said here, the key message around that timelines is that if you can, I'd encourage you to start soon. Now, in terms of where you should look, I provided a list here. There's a lot of different places that you can look for graduate jobs. This list here should be able to share it with you after today. As I said, it will also be on the recording. This is a good place to start looking for graduate jobs. Just wanted to highlight a few for you. So first of all, you can see My Gateway at the top. My Gateway is actually De Montfort University's own careers portal. We've got a team dedicated to finding jobs and putting them on our jobs board. So the advantage of that is that it's curated for you as students. So the jobs there are going to be relevant for you as a student, rather than when you go and look on one of the larger job sites and get inundated with jobs that you're not that interested in. Alongside that, we also have Student Circus, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But as well as that, what you'll probably find is, particularly when you're thinking about graduate roles, you'll have a particular sector that you're interested in. For example, some of you said you're interested in finance. One you mentioned you're interested in ethical hacking. Now, there are specialist job sites as well as a general job sites that you can look at for these specialist roles. The technology roles, computing roles, and engineering roles, I really encourage GradCracker, which is specialized in those areas. For financial roles, you've got things like Top Financial Jobs, eFinancial Careers. If you're doing a master's with us, particularly in business, there's also Careernomics, which is specialized in that. So there's a number of different areas depending on what you're specialized in. Student Circus, as I said, is a particularly special one though, because if you remember, I mentioned before, once you graduate, after your 2 years of your graduate route wears out, then you'll have 2 years, but then you'll need to get sponsorship, usually through the skilled worker visa. Now, Student Circus is a job site that we subscribe to. And what you can do there, it's built for international students like yourself. You can sign up as a DMU student through the link I provided that will also post in the chat. And all the jobs there listed provide skilled worker sponsorship. So it saves a bit of time for you having to look and see if a company will sponsor you before you actually get through the application, because all the jobs you apply for there offer sponsorship. So I can see we've got a question from Solani as well. It's about the graduate route available for undergrad students who are in advanced entry to third year as well. Solani, I don't actually know the answer to that yet. So what I'm going to do, if it's all right with you, so graduate route is still a little bit new, and we're still getting nuances. I think you might be able to, but let me check in with our visa advice team around that and then get back to you. So what I'm going to do, Solani, is I'm just going to make a note of that. And then I'll make sure we get back to you around that. So there we go. Lovely. Sorry about this all. Just making a note. Okay, so as an idea of Student Circus as a job specialist website, Alongside internship opportunities, as a university, we also offer our own internal graduate level internship program as well. It's not advertised yet until spring. I just want to make you aware of it to know to look out for it. It's called Frontrunners. What this is a 9-month internship for 10 hours a week, not at work, 10 hours a week during your term time study. So fitting in around you. It is paid as well. It'll be work that you're doing in the university at a graduate level. Things, for example, like marketing, like events management. We've had some computing frontrunners before. There's a huge range of opportunities available. I just wanted to mention that as something to be on your radar, not for this semester, but for spring semester, because it is such an excellent scheme, and because it's exclusive to DMU students, it's much less competitive than some of the other opportunities out there. So we talked quite a lot about, no problem, Salani. We talked quite a lot about where to find jobs. We talked a little bit about when to apply, where to search. Now we're going to look at a little bit about when you're actually applying, what you can expect, and what UK employers actually look for. As I said before, with the caveats around this is a huge topic. It's a topic that pretty much my whole role as a job at university is dedicated around, as well as all my colleagues. It's a massive topic to cover. So what I'm not going to do is cover it all in loads of detail today. However, we do have lots of workshops and lots of support happening this semester to go into all of this in a bit more detail, as well as I mentioned those one-to-one coaching and advice support appointments that will help you with that. So Monica, you say you're a master's student. Just to quickly go on you, and then we'll carry on. Please advise you to do 20 working hours a week. You can do 20 as according to your visa, but as a DMU student, you're limited to 16 working hours a week alongside your studies. So yes, you can do 16 hours a week, if that makes sense. So what do UK employers look for? Well, before we think about what they look for, let's talk a little bit about what you can expect when you apply for these jobs. So welcome to the long and potentially arduous road you might have to face, with a big emphasis there, when applying to some of these graduate level jobs. Now, this many stages is usually what you'll find when you apply for some of those larger employers with the big graduate schemes. It is worth being aware of this because these large graduate schemes are the most likely to employ and sponsor international students long term. But this is what you can expect, but there won't always be this many levels to it. But usually when you apply for one of the big graduate scheme jobs, these are the stages that you can expect. First of all, you have to do some sort of written application where you share your CV, a covering letter, and application form, which again, we'll talk more about in one-to-ones and later workshops. Once you've done that, you then go on to online tests. Now, this isn't the case for every employer, but many will offer these psychometric tests, which basically they're a little bit like short-term exams that you complete online, looking at things like your ability to work with numbers, your ability to work with language and things like that, and assessing your ability there. Alongside that, you might have to then sit a variety of different types of interview, as well as something called an assessment center, which is where traditionally it happened face-to-face. Nowadays, it's more likely to happen virtually, but where you'll be either taken somewhere or log into somewhere for a day or a half day and have to sit a variety of different exercises and tests to assess your suitability for the job. After all those different stages are complete and you've gone through each one, if you're successful, then and only then do you have the job offer. So as you can see, it is quite a long, arduous road for these big employers. That said, though, they're not always that complicated. And actually, for a lot of smaller businesses and those part-time jobs that apply for, the UK way of doing things, applications is quite similar to how it's run in many countries, different countries as well. So usually for part-time jobs, for generally smaller business applications, you'll have to do some form of written application. Then if they like what they see there, they'll invite you through to an interview, either virtual or face-to-face, and then they'll go give you the job offer. So it's much simpler for part-time work and for smaller businesses usually. With that in mind, though, something that's quite a big question that I know international students struggle with a lot is actually how they can adapt what they're talking about and their experience to what UK employers specifically look for. Now, UK employers are concerned with a number of different things, but usually they're concerned with fundamentally 3 key questions. This will be the same for most companies that you apply for internationally as well. First of all, they want to know, can you do the job? Do you have the skills, attitude, experience, and strengths to actually do the job that they want you to do? Second of all, will you do the job? Are you interested? Do you have the motivation to do this job well? Are you interested in the company, the sector, the type of area that you're working in? And finally, do you fit in with the company as a whole? Are your values and the way that you look at things the same way that that company looks at things? If, for example, if the company's got a strong value towards working from home and compassion and things like that, and you're saying, I really want to work in the office, then it might not be the right fit for you. So UK employers are really concerned with these three key questions overall. And fundamentally, something that can be different from international employers is that UK employers, particularly at graduate entry level, are really concerned with something called transferable skills. So what this means is, if we think about a skill, it's the ability to do something well. You know, a skill, if you have a skill in cooking, you can cook well. If you have a skill at football, which I certainly do not have, you can play football well. A transferable skill is a skill that can be used in a variety of situations and roles. They're also known as soft skills traditionally. You can see a list of a few on the screen there, things like communication, leadership, curiosity, commercial awareness, ability to work in a team, the ability to build relationships and solve problems. And you remember I was talking earlier about that importance and usefulness of part-time work and extracurricular work and volunteering. This is why that is so useful, because particularly actually a number one query I have from international students is they come to me and say, oh, Sam, I've got no experience for the sector that I'm going for. But often that won't matter for graduate level roles, as long as you can talk about the transferable skills you've got that make you a good fit for the job you're applying for. So transferable skills is a fundamental concept to get your head around for UK applications. It is really crucial, not only for graduate level work, but also for part-time work as well. Now, in terms of that then, if you think a bit more widely then about UK employers, they're looking to answer those three questions. Can you do the job? Will you do the job? Will you fit in? What they're going to look at as part of that is evidence of your relevant transferable skills. But alongside that, they'll consider your motivations, your general achievements, what you've achieved both in your academic studies and in your wider life, your experience, and your academic grades. So again, depending on the culture you're from, it might be different where you're from. I know that some cultures have more of an emphasis on academia and academic grades for job applications. In the UK, academic grades are considered. They are important, but they're only one of many different things, with the focus really being on them as part of a greater whole, and the focus really being on things like your transferable skills and motivations as well. So again, worth bearing in mind that what UK employees look for can be slightly different. As I said, we've got a more detailed session all about this later on during the semester if you are interested. Now, of course, with all of this, what UK employers are really looking for is someone that impresses them, someone that has the skills that they are looking for, has the strengths they are looking for, has something to offer. And you might be wondering now, okay, how can I actually impress employers? And before I answer that, I wanted to start with this as a question, which is, are you an impressive person? Now, I'm not going to make you put a yes or no in the chat, don't worry. But it's worth thinking, when I asked you that question, are you an impressive person, what your initial response is and why. If you said yes, yeah, fantastic, you are an impressive person. I agree with you, though I would be interested to know exactly why you think you're impressive for, say, graduate roles. I've no doubt you are, but again, it's important to have that reasoning behind that. If you said no to that question, though, I would really challenge you on that and ask you why. Each of you coming here today will have unique skills and unique strengths. Each of you will have been through your own journey to come here, but then also alongside that, each of you as an international student coming to study in the UK brings a whole wealth of things that other students don't have in terms of resilience, cultural awareness, general drive, bravery, that really can make you stand out to a UK employer. And with that in mind, just a bit of a question for you. Again, I'll put this question here and then I'll carry on with the presentation and check in every now and again as we go. What I'd like to ask you is what skills, knowledge and experience you think you can offer as an international student. What do you think that your international perspective gives you that makes you stand out in the UK labour market. I guarantee you there are skills, knowledge, and experience that make you stand out, but it's good to consider what those can be. And the reason I say this is because, again, often in our one-to-one appointments with international students, they're concerned that they're going to be outcompeted by home students from the UK, that they're not as good as them, which is definitely not the truth. So just have a think about that. Some thoughts that traditionally can make international graduates really stand out in graduate recruitment processes are things like your language skills, that understanding of different cultures, the understanding and ability to connect the UK and overseas business practices, particularly as you build your understanding of UK business and commercial roles, and link that with your understanding of your home country. That could be a powerful combination. Resilience, diversity, and adaptability are also one in the top 5 skills that many graduate employers are looking for these days. And all of those are things that as an international student coming to the UK, you can demonstrate. So that's some quick thoughts from me. And I can see Alex has put here a great one as well around decision-making and stress management. Alex, great additions there. And you're certainly right that stress management, dealing with a new country and studying in a new country, particularly sometimes in a new language, is powerful as an example of your experience. Miracle's also put leadership experience as well, which is fantastic. And actually, Miracle's a great point there around leadership and diverse teams. Looking at leadership literature at a minute and leadership at what employers are looking for around strong leaders. They always talk about the ability to work with multicultural teams. Diverse teams is something they are looking for. We've got some great answers coming in here from Jad, from Namrafa around leadership, team management, and then having experience in the real worlds. And yeah, Jad, it's great to hear you love numbers. Again, that passion is something that if you can really show that passion to an employer, it will serve you well. Now, we just prompt you on that topic because, again, it's one of those things that when we're coming to part-time work, we're coming to graduate work, an employer is not going to always sit down with you and really draw out your unique qualities. You have to tell them. So it can be worth, before you even apply, having a think about some of the unique things you have to offer. However, with that in mind, alongside those things around transferable skills, other things that can really help you with UK employer applications, both at part-time level and at graduate level, are things like a tailored CV and cover letter in a UK format. Again, I'll talk about UK formats and where you can get advice on that in a moment. When we say tailored, that means that it is tailored for the job role that you are going for. For example, so if you're applying for the student ambassador role on Unitemps, the way your CV and cover letter will look should be different from if you're applying for a finance role at a bank or something along those lines, because of different skills and different competencies that they'll be looking for. We also want evidence that you've done your research about them as an employer, that you know what you're getting into. They're looking for passion and enthusiasm, which I think I can see from Pink here that you've got plenty of that, so I'm sure that won't be a problem for any of you, as well as things like professionalism and a good standard of written and spoken English. And as I mentioned already, understanding of how impressive you are. Now, again, you might be feeling a little bit daunted by that and thinking that's quite a lot to have. These are things that you can work on and will grow. And I've seen so many success stories of international graduates who have got all these. I'm going to skip that slide because I think we already talked about the importance of tailoring. However, just to close now, before I talk about the support available, just in terms of what you're doing right now, it's important to note that while it can seem overwhelming, what you need to do most of all, probably just have a sit and make a plan, first of all. A small step is better than no step at all. Even just going and looking at some of the jobs out there is better than just putting it off. So I really recommend you, particularly if you're looking for a successful graduate career in the UK, to start planning what you're going to do and start researching potential options right now. The next year or 2 or 3, depending on how many you've had, if you're undergraduate or postgraduate at university, will be a fantastic chance to also get involved and build your skills and experience and networks. So what I was talking about before, if you don't think that you've finished article just yet, that's totally fine. This is a great chance for you to develop. The chance to do different things and develop your language skills is going to be useful for any employer you go for, even if it's not explicitly related to the career that you want to go into. Generally, however, what I'd also say, and this is exactly the same for home students as well, is that one of the difficulties about job hunts is that you are going to face rejection. You're going to apply for a job and not get it. You're probably going to apply for multiple jobs and not get it. I know I have. Now, actually, rejection really is not great, is it? It's not nice to be rejected from a job we have. However, it's something we all have to face. And from my experience and the advice of international graduates in the past who secured roles in the UK, the thing that sets them out compared to those that aren't successful is that they, first of all, apply for jobs. When they get rejection, they think about what they did wrong, what they did well, improve, and then they apply again. They keep applying, but also they keep learning as well. So if you can get those rejections and treat it as a learning experience rather than a proof that you're not cut out for the UK labour market, which you are cut out for the UK labour market, then that'll be much more likely to be successful. Now, for the final 5 or 10 minutes or so, I'll quickly talk about some of the wider support available to you at DMU, because certainly what I've chucked you today might be a bit daunting, but you're certainly not alone. So we've got a wide service at DMU here to support you around your graduate career. There's about 60 of us, as well as all your academics, all your core staff and the international support team here to support you however we can. We offer a number of different things. Now, I'll talk quickly about some of these, but I won't list all of them. But it's just worth noting if any of these makes you interested to research it a little bit more and have a chat with me and we can talk more about it. We offer one-to-one careers appointments, which can be around anything if you want one-to-one advice around UK CVs, the UK labour market, making a career plan. I've already talked about the part-time work we offer through uni temps. Alongside that, and some of our work experience and internship programs like Frontrunners. Alongside that, we also offer the chance to actually network with employers and build those industry contacts. And we do this through 2 key ways. First of all, we offer a packed calendar of employer events, which I'll talk more about in just a moment, and also a employability mentoring scheme, which is where we can match you one-to-one with a mentor. There's lots more we could talk about here around, for example, support if you want to start your own business, support with those online tests and video interviews that you might face when you're applying for those graduate roles. I'm not going to spend ages talking about all of them though, because there's too much and I don't want to overwhelm you. What I will say is if any of this is of interest to you, to go over to mygateway.dmu.ac.uk just to learn a little bit more about this. This is where you can access all of this support. Some things to particularly look out for, particularly if you're new to UK and a bit unsure about where to start, is that we are putting on a calendar of skills sessions around this topic for you. So this includes everything from CVs to psychometric tests to interviews to specialist things for international students around yourselves, like a more detailed introduction than I've done today to UK labour market, more detailed explanations about visas, UK professional etiquette and networking, and also towards the end of October, that jobs platform student Circus will offer skilled worker roles, coming to give you some advice about securing jobs in the UK. We'll also have alumni events for international alumni later on in November, probably. And something also to highlight as a big event is that from the 25th to 30th of October this year, we're having, it used to be our careers fair, now it's called our employer showcase, which will have a load of employers in virtually to meet with you either one-to-one or with group sessions, just to network, as well as a huge range of different events happening. There should be some links at the end of today's session. I'll post some links for you in the chat just so you can access all this. But if you do want to reach out to me, you can reach out at either careers@dmu.ac.uk or my email address is sam.parr@dmu.ac.uk. I'd be happy to talk more with you about any of this. Finally, we also have on my gateway a CV and cover letter guides for you, a tool called CV 360, which I'll link to, which enables you to upload your CV to get it reviewed. This can be really useful, particularly for those initial applications, if you just want to get your CV checked and make sure it's in a UK format. Also, for those of you who are thinking right now about applying for some of those higher level graduate roles with those long recruitment practice processes, we also have on my gateway some practice tools for you around those online tests and video interviews, which can be useful. And yes, you can just see my email in the comment section there. So I appreciate I've chucked quite a lot at you today. It's been fantastic to have you here with me. Today we talked about quite a few things. We talked about job hunting in the UK. We talked about what UK employers are looking for and ultimately how we can help. And I will say this, that it's worth noting that everything I've talked about today, all the support services are available to you. We're here to serve you, but you also need to reach out and access us. Generally, when we look at particularly our international students, because of the increased challenge of getting used to the UK labour market, usually those are successful in securing long-term UK roles are those that have used the career service quite a lot. So you can see they've come along to appointments, they've come along to events, they've got practice to really boost their employability skills and make them attractive to employers. In your tuition fees, you have paid for all of this. You pay my salary, you pay all my colleagues' salaries for it. So we are here for you. Please do make use of us. Ultimately, it is your career, however. It's not something we can help you with. It's in your hands. It's down to you to make work. We can help you, but you are in the driving seat. That said, though, as a final note, I have seen so many international graduates succeed both in the UK and overseas and return to their home country. It's something that it can be daunting, it can be scary to come to a completely new culture, completely new labour market and try to get to grips with it. But I promise you that if you put just a little bit of effort in, which I'm sure you will, you can do it. So it has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you all today. You should see, and some of the in the comments now, just some of the websites have come through. So we've got, first of all, my gateway, which is where you can get most of the things I've talked about today around appointments, events, and things like that. You'll see a specific link to our skills workshops, including those international student-specific workshops, our CV checker, and finally signing up for Student Circus for those skilled worker roles. Dan and Jay, the recording of this, I believe, should be available after today. You should be able to use this link and get it, but we'll make sure that's shared with you if it's not directly available. So the recording of this will all be available for you. It'll either be available through this link or it should be sent out to you afterwards. Now, also, I'm going to finish today. We have probably run out of time for questions. Thank you. Just a comment there with the link for the recording. Thank you so much for that. It's been fantastic to have you all here, but I hope today isn't the last time that we'll speak to each other. We've got a range of things happening both on campus and off campus. So we can meet face-to-face, we can meet virtually, whatever's easiest for you, depending on where you're based. Now, I think for your next live stream, you've got a 5-minute break, and then your next live stream is on registering for the health centre, which is very useful. Jobs is really exciting. I think your careers are very exciting, but if you're not in good health, you're not going to be able to apply for jobs. So that'd be a really useful one to stick around for. Apart from that, I don't think there's any more questions in the chat. So we'll close the live stream today. Great to have you all here, and best of luck with your DMU experience. Have farewell all and have a good day.